Duckboat Dispatch, episode 19 and a half. I'm saying the half because this is an emergency episode, ladies and gentlemen, because your Boston Red Sox are in the dance. They have made the postseason for the first time since 2021. My guest joining me was still in high school the last time the Boston Red Sox were in the playoffs. So joining me today on the episode, there's no Josh, there's no Sarah. This is an emergency episode. Chuck is joining us today, our baseball expert from no longer the whole All and Hickey show, 38 and counting, producer of that show. Chuck, thank you so much for joining me. I know I was all over the place trying to schedule this. That is on me because it looked like they were going to miss, and then they were in, and then it was, why the hell would we do oh no, they're going to miss show when they're 2 games away from getting in? So I appreciate you for being very, very flexible with trying to sit down and get the show.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm excited to talk Sox. And listen, I mean, this tomorrow we'll be live right from Jack's house, doing a little live show there. A couple guests joining us.
The mansion.
In the Halal Cinema. So should be a good one. And I'm super stoked for this wild card series and what's coming up.
Yeah, so let's get right into it now. First time in 4 years they have made the playoffs. Now, I'm going to get right out there and say it. I don't think they're winning the World Series, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer because it's October. Well, technically it's September still, but it's going to be October tomorrow, I think, or in 2 days. And anything can happen in October with playoff baseball. But I want to stay clear from that. If they don't make it, well, what did they do wrong? What did they not do enough of? What did Breslow, what did Kennedy, what did they not do enough to add to the roster? Because I think it all boils down to the Devers trade and not getting enough back in the Devers trade. Just because if you look at the lineup, they need some pop. And I'm totally stealing that phrasing from you because I just love it. Not enough pop in the lineup. It's perfect. So let's start off with, is making the playoffs enough for this Boston Red Sox team for you to call this season a success, Chuck?
I mean, I quite frankly don't believe so. I think this group has more in it than just making the postseason. You said they're not going to make the World Series. I really don't see them not having the aspirations of being in the World Series. They're a Major League Ball club. And I think when you make the postseason, every team that's in there has the aspirations to make the World Series. I think this lineup, from top to bottom has the capability of making a big swing. And I think for game one that's upcoming now against the Yankees, if they take game one, and we'll get into more of that as the episode goes on. Game two, you got Bale on the bump. He's got a 1.1 ERA against this Yankees lineup this season, a 2.3 in his career. He's just great at Yankee Stadium. He loves playing in that environment. They call him Baby Pedro. I mean, at this point, hopefully he can step up there in game two and be a Baby Pedro. I mean, he's been great against the Yankees. It's postseason time now, and I really think if the Sox get past this wild card round, go to the DS, Blue Jays will be clutching their pearls, I'll say. This is a team that I think can play in a playoff atmosphere, and we see it from top to bottom. It's just about, can they compete and can they stay out of their heads? The Yankees, they've got everything against their wall. They're backed up completely. I mean, the Red Sox, they're going in there and they're playing at Yankee Stadium. The Yankees have everything going for them. They have the best hitter in baseball. The Sox are missing their best player in Roman Anthony. What does that play into how they play? Are they nervous? Because a lot of Yankees fans, from what I'm seeing on Twitter, the community feels pretty nervous about playing this Sox team, even though they're on a tear, beating the White Sox and the Orioles. Do they feel like they're prepared? There's a lot of questions we have to answer for the Yankees, but I think the Sox have their own. It's tear it up and win. I mean, I think that's their big part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not too worried about the Yankees, I'm going to be honest. Obviously they have one of the best players, and if not the best player in baseball, in Aaron Judge, who can change the game in a swing. And that is something that the Red Sox are lacking desperately without Roman Anthony in the lineup, like you mentioned. But I think making the playoffs is a success, and it makes this season a success for the Boston Red Sox, because in my mind, they're a year ahead of where I thought they were going to be when it comes to the rebuild in the post Mookie Betts era, or the post, now Rafael Devers, really post 2018 championship, once they decided we're going to get rid of pretty much every single guy on that roster. They have such a young team, and calling up Meyer, Anthony, Campbell at the start of the season, then sending him back down, but even Rafaela really developing well, Abreu developing well. They have these young guys. Crochet's, he's the ace, but he's not old to begin with either. The oldest guy, the vet on this team is Alex Bregman, and to be where they are so far this year with Anthony coming up and making an instant difference, and the team going on a crazy run before the All-Star break, to ultimately Anthony getting hurt and the Sox kind of slumping. I think they're playing with fool's gold here, honestly, in the playoffs. Like, they have a puncher's chance against all of these teams they could play against and they will play against potentially in the playoffs. But to say that this season isn't a success if they don't get to the DSCS World Series, I think is a mistake, because all we were saying before the season was we wanted to come to September and we want them to play meaningful games. We don't want it to be we have to play these games because there's 162 on the schedule, but the last 10 don't matter. And we want to be in the postseason. And Craig Breslow, all of his faults maybe, he had a phenomenal offseason. Chapman, Bregman, Crochet, the deal for Crochet, which is fun because it's Crochet and Fried tomorrow, and they couldn't get Fried, so they pivot to Crochet. So it'll be just the storyline. Red Sox Yankees is always going to be the top tier story in sports, honestly. But bouncing back to it, I think calling the season a success because they make the playoffs is fair and just.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree, right? I mean, I think regular season is successful when you enter the playoffs. You've obviously done enough in the regular season to make the postseason, and they had ups and downs, the leaps and bounds they had to take with trading Rafi Devers. That plays a lot into a clubhouse that, quite frankly, everyone seemed to think that didn't care about Devers leaving. I'm sure there was some people in there that were kind of happy that left the clubhouse, but little do we know, the guy might have been fine with the guys in the clubhouse, but front office wise, maybe not. But at the end of the day here, I mean, they don't want to consider this a success, and we see it from Cora. I think after the game, just saying, we talked about 162, how important it is to play to the end, the whole spiel he had. I think now the boost you get, the confidence you have going into Yankee Stadium, you win there in the wild card, you go to Toronto, who I just believe isn't a strong team in the DS. I really think there's a chance here for a path for this Red Sox team that's going to face the AL East here in the first 2 rounds, and then end up, in my opinion, playing a team like Cleveland, who's gotten hot at the right time. I think they can beat the Mariners. I think they can get out of that wild card first round and then go ahead and play the Mariners. And I think an ALCS against Cleveland would be an interesting one. 2 teams that, quite frankly, no one believed would be at that point probably in the beginning of the season. So I think it's going to be interesting. I have my whole bracket laid out, and I think it's going to be interesting in how it goes.
And we'll get into how do you see the Red Sox postseason, just MLB postseason progressing to begin with. But let's stick with the wild card matchup. 3 games in the Bronx at the cathedral that is Yankee Stadium. Let's dive into the matchup. We already mentioned Crochet versus Fried tomorrow. First of all, before we even get into the matchup, how do you feel about it being all 3 games at Yankee Stadium? I think that's kind of stupid. I feel like it should be 1-1-1 or 1-2.
I miss the 1-game wild card. I think they're probably going to go back to that probably relatively soon. I think the league misses it because it's anticipation for 1 game, game 163, as you'd call it. And, if that this is how it is, backs against the wall, whoever wins, goes to the next round. I think that's the best way to do it. But again, best of 3 gives more opportunity for better baseball and, continuous play. Listen, they call it the cathedral. I see it. I think the team is super corporate. I think they're super clean cut. That's their whole thing. Their whole shtick has been that for years. Last World Series win in 2009. We're there last year. I mean, a team that we know, regardless as to what the lineup is up and down, regardless as to what the rotation might be, they figure it out. They play good baseball. They're a good organization. What they're lacking, and I think, is just that dog mentality that, I hate to say it because people talk about Jason Tatum like that. Like, does he have that mentality? But with this Yankee lineup, it's there, right? Aaron Judge is a quiet guy. This lineup, they got Trent Grisham, who's had a great season, Cody Bellinger, a solid season. And then they got their guy, starting up in Fried without Garrett Cole. I mean, this is a good team. But I truly believe game 1 is in the hands of the Sox here. If they pick that one up, game 2 should be a breeze with Bayo. If they got, the Yankees have everything in front of them. The Sox don't have their backs against the wall. They're probably going to play loose, and you're going to see that on the base paths. I mean, I'm excited to see this series, how it pans out. And again, game 1 is the biggest indicator for me in a wild card series. Who picks it up? Who's coming out the fastest? The Sox steal bags. The Yankees don't. I mean, that's 2 differences in these teams. Are they going to start Stanton in the outfield? I mean, the possibilities are endless, and there's also a chance that Rob Refsnyder gets the leadoff spot in this game just because we're facing a lefty. And that, again, is the beauty of Alex Cora and the way that he manages his ball club. It's going to be interesting. I think game 1's a big one.
So let's stick with Alex Cora and AC for a minute, because if you look at just on paper the lineup, the roster, the pitchers, I'd say the Yankees have a better lineup. They have the best player in baseball. They have more pop in your lineup. Their pitching can match yours. But I think the benefit the Sox have is Alex Cora is going to manage circles around Aaron Boone. This is when, and I know you're a big Cora guy and you love the way Cora plays the matchup game. And you look at the matchup game he played in the game against the Tigers where they clinched the playoffs. He had like 6 different pitchers in that game at one point, Chuck. And the way he likes to play, lefty, righty, things of that nature, using Rob Refsnyder, like you mentioned, Roby Gonzalez as well, running out David Hamilton to go out there and steal bases, even though his fat ass gets thrown out half the time anyways. I think Alex Cora gives the Sox a huge advantage because when you think about the experience that these guys have, besides Cora and Bregman, it's next to none. So they're going in there, and sometimes ignorance is bliss, Chuck. They don't know what they're going up against here with all these young guys. I think Alex Cora is going to manage circles around Aaron Boone. So in terms of if you're listing, pitching, batting, fielding, managing, you got to give the managing tick to the Red Sox, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, Alex Cora, he's got the experience. We saw it in that game when they faced the Tigers and they won. I mean, Kyle Harrison, they had to put out there. That was the guy that they had starting, and he had to give us the innings. He started out pretty slow. It was a second start in the MLB. I mean, it's a tough one to be in a spot like that. Goes into the fourth, gives up a couple runs, and they dipped right into the pen. And I think the usage and the way that Cora dipped into the pen reminded everybody what kind of manager he is when it comes to the strategic play that he has, to the rotation, to the bullpen, to how he operates. And again, we knew what the rotation was going to be like in the postseason. It's going to be Crochet, Bello, and Giolito. We knew that for a while, but when it comes to the leverage of arms in the pen, Peyton Tolley moves in there. He'll be on the postseason roster. He's got an electric fastball. Secondary stuff's not great, sure, but he's going to use that pen to his advantage. And you saw it in that game. I mean, you put Greg Weissert out there. You got Steven Matz out there. You put Zach Kelly out there. Everybody you could have potentially put out there in those high leverage situations, every single reliever picked up that ball and pitched high leverage. I mean, even Zach Kelly, who hasn't been great this year, his last 4 appearances, he's been unbelievable. I mean, he's figured it out. The Sox are not only getting lucky at the right time, they're coaching at the right time. I mean, they're doing a good job when it comes to putting together this rotation or this bullpen. I mean, you see it now, the arms and what they're gonna have coming out of there in the postseason. I think game 1, and I laid this out. I talked to Jack all about this, our show tomorrow. I laid this out really. I mean, you want Crochet to give you 6 to 7 innings. He gives you 6 to 7. You're the ability
6-7.
Right. The ability to dip into Garrett Whitlock, who's been nails in the 8th as a setup guy, and then go to Aroldis Chapman in the 9th back at his old stadium, where a lot of fans on the Yankees side just remember the inability to control the fastball, the inability to control the secondary pitches. Chapman used to just throw that ball. It took him until he got here to understand location. I think Narvaez played a big role into that. Tech played a big role into that. Whoever is, behind that, they're going to see why Chapman, was brought here. And they saw it over the season. The amount of times Chapman closed and just the fact that we're going to be back at Yankee Stadium. I think if we're up in the 9th and they got to face Aroldis Chapman and he gets that 1-2-3, the 1-0 is going to feel like we won the series.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring up because when it comes to the starters, we all knew Crochet, Bello, Giolito. I have the utmost faith in that 3 starting line. Those 3 starters. It was shaky in the middle of the season, but come the end of the season, Crochet has always been nails the entire season. The war pig, oink, oink. And then you have Bello, who has really figured it out this year. My big issue with Bello going into the season was he was like a boxer in my mind. And what do those boxers need to do? They need to feel the blood on their face to really lock in and just dial up and become, the machines that they are. And that was Bello to me. And that's not what I want in my starting pitcher, where he can go out there and he can be nails. If he goes 6 2/3, he can give you 6 really good ones, but he's going to have 2/3 of an inning where he is just horrendous. And he's figured that out. And on top of that, you bring in Giolito to bring up the third, kind of bring up the rear of that rotation. I trust those guys. But you mentioned the middle of the bullpen the bullpen, the relief. That's where I get worried because we have the setup. We have Whitlock. We have the closer, Chapman. Who's the guy in the middle? Let's say Bello goes out there game 2 and gets shelled early. You bring him out. Maybe he doesn't go 5, 6, 7, and he only goes 3 1/3 or something along those lines, and he gets shelled and he comes out. How much faith do you have in the guys in the bullpen to put something together where they can still get to the eighth without having to use Whitlock early or Chapman early and still bring them in to close out those games.
Well, here's the thing that I talked about. I mean, this pen has been the best in baseball. It's top five, a 3.45 ERA throughout the season. I mean, that's a team ERA when you look at a pen is that's the biggest thing that's indicative of success. And that's what's happened with this pen. Even though there's guys that have been in and out of it, I truly believe when you look at the rest these guys are getting now, they're relaxed. They're about to have a press conference at 2:30. Cora's going to speak to the media, and they're going to have a full, run of show on Nesson, just covering their BP and interviewing players. Their mindset right now, when it comes to this bullpen, is that they're going to do damage in the pen. They're going to lock down innings, and I have the utmost faith in Steven Matz, a guy that got at the deadline that was, next to Dustin May, and that's about it. They did, jack squat at the deadline, but I trust the guy to be in a high leverage spot. I trust Greg Weissert to be in a high leverage spot. Right now, I trust Zach Kelly to be in a high leverage spot. Peyton Tolley can even be in a spot like that. I think that this pen has enough guys and enough arms to the point where if Bayo goes down, unfortunately, if he gets shelled 5, whatever, I think they have enough in there to figure it out. And the biggest part of the postseason that I think Sox fans that are younger, I remember being, watching the 21 run. I remember watching the 2018 run, even though I was a younger guy. I think people need to understand.
Bro, you still are a younger guy. I'm Unc over here.
I think people need to understand that these relievers and the position players, they're no longer running on fumes in the postseason. They're running on adrenaline. And, if you fold under adrenaline in the postseason, there is no way in hell you win a championship. These guys need to run off of pure adrenaline, and you're going to see it from the relievers. They're going to pitch. You're going to see an uptick in fastballs. You're going to see an uptick in the usage of anything that's fast. They're gonna tick up, and I just think it's gonna happen because of the adrenaline. You're in Yankee Stadium. You're trying to shut their mouths. I mean, it's a big spot. I have nothing but faith in this pen that's been top 5 in baseball all season.
All right, so then let's switch the conversation then. We talk about what if Bayo gets shelled for, let's say, 5 runs, and the bullpen are able to come in and lock it down. Are the bats going to be able to make up those 5 runs, Chuck? Because that has been the sketch, especially in the slump, man. In this slump, the bats have been terrible with runners in scoring position. You're relying on guys like Masataka Yoshida to come out there and clean up and do things for you. How much do you trust these bats? Do we think they are, after that slump in that Blue Jays series and that Tiger? I mean, they only really played 1.5 games in the Tiger series to begin with. The last game was pretty much who isn't hungover, go up there and play ball. So how much do we trust these bats in the postseason? Because that is the one thing where if you want to say the Yankees maybe have some sketching pitching, and I'm not going to pretend to be the expert on this. This is why we have you here, Chuck, when it comes to the Yankees arms. But I can tell you they have some damn good bats, and they have pop in that lineup, and that is something you do not have in your lineup right now. So how worried are you about, let's say you got to score 6 runs in a game to get the win. Can they get 6?
Well, I mean, a very specific situation in 6 runs. I mean, any game that's down 6-0 is a tough one.
Throwing a number out there.
Yeah, right. But listen, I don't want to sound like the positive outlook machine. I've been that all year, and it's really worked out for me, even in slumps. I really believe this. I believe in the lineup, and the big thing is here that I'm going to state proudly, and we can look back at this in any type of way. I think October is the month of Yoshida. I mean, I genuinely believe it's. I believe. I know it's tough to say because of the year he's had and how weird they got Phantom IL'd and whatever. I mean, the guy is built for the postseason. It's the truth. I know he doesn't have pop, but you see the big hits in that game against Detroit. He's been on a tear recently, 9 for whatever the case may be. I don't even know what his stat line is, but he's got his OPS. His OPS was at like a 620 last week, and he's above a 700 now. He's above a league average hitter, which is crazy. I don't know how he did it in a week, but he did it. And I think legitimately the X factor in this lineup in the middle of the order is going to be Yoshida and Romy Gonzalez. I think it's true. And I know it's funny now, but I think the guy's going to be great for the postseason. And for Romy, guy gets waived off the Chicago White Sox, a pickup for the Red Sox, a guy that didn't play day-to-day in Chicago, got hurt pretty often, was a bench bat, 800 OPS this season, probably well over 200 plate appearances. The guy is not a serviceable second baseman. He's one of the best second basemen in baseball, offensively and defensively. And it's been a void that obviously Christian Campbell couldn't fill. And Romy stepped up at first when Casas went down. And ended up going back to second when Nathaniel Lowe, who I'll talk about in a second, ended up getting signed. I think Romy and Yoshi are genuinely in the middle of this lineup. They have the ability to put guys on. That doesn't mean Romy's got pop. Yoshida doesn't. I'm saying Yoshida could put himself in a position to get a double down the line, get on second, and let Romy knock him in or let somebody else knock him in. I think this lineup, like I said, from top to bottom, has the ability and the power to have one swing to change the game. I truly believe that.
If you had told me before we recorded and the weeks leading up to this that you would say Yoshida is the X factor in this lineup, I would have sent every single drug test I could find to Curry College to have you take. Because that is up there with saying Connor Wong is the X factor. And we're going to rely on Connor Wong to bat in runners when he has, what does he have, like 5 RBIs in the season? Something pathetic along the... Something pathetic along those lines. I remember, 6-7. I remember when he got his first RBI of the season. It was a monumental day at WEEI. We were losing it was in my trending. It was like Jesus had descended from the heavens that Connor Wong had gotten an RBI. And if Yoshida makes a big at bat in the series, I will fall on the sword. I will apologize profusely, Chuck, and I will never doubt your baseball knowledge again. I just can't imagine trusting enough in Yoshida. If you were to look at me and say, who's the X factor when it comes to the bats, you need Jarren Duran to be that Jarren Duran we saw last year in the playoffs. The guy who was the All-Star Game MVP, who was one of the best players in baseball last year. You need that Jarren Duran back, not the one that we've seen recently with the Boston Red Sox, where he's just striking out profusely. And the same goes for Sara and Rafaela. If I'm counting on 2 guys in this postseason run, I'm counting on Duran to be who is the face of the franchise, to be that guy. And I'm counting on Cedon to be the ice cold Cedon Rafaela that we know and love to get up in the plate in those big key moments and get the knock that we need.
I mean, listen, I agree. Duran is a guy that, quite frankly, I'm not looking at the offseason yet because I'm so focused in the postseason. A guy that the postseason is not a place anymore to show your worth. I generally believe that. I think, if he has a good postseason, will that maybe change his, if he's going to be here next year? I don't know. And that's something we'll look towards after the postseason. But I think the reason why I bring up Yoshida is because I go back to my point on this lineup, and you talked about big hit, big moment. I mean, every single player in this lineup has had a big hit and a big moment. Because the last month of the season, even prior to that, every series, if I'm listening to EI, if I hear my guy TC doing trending, I always hear the biggest series of the month, the biggest series of, because we were always in this situation where it's like, we need to pick up 2 wins. We have to pick up 2 wins. And they always came through. Sometimes
besides that athletic series.
That's right. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but it's baseball. And I really believe, and like I said, Duran's a big X factor here. He's going to lead off against righties. He's going to bat 8th against lefties. I mean, obviously in a playoff lineup, you want your secure lineup, your leadoff spot. Roman Anthony's not here right now. And as far as I know, we'll see what happens down the line. He wants to get back on track. We'll see what happens. But again, an injury that he's never had before, they're going to treat as an injury he's never had before. That's going to be tough, for them. But I think they're well past that. Anthony's been in the dugout. He's going to be down in Fort Myers for the wild card, getting prepared and getting, set potentially to go and just getting back and potentially getting to do baseball activities like Marcelo Meyer is. But I think that this lineup has enough guys in it to get the big hit. And you can even look to Narvaez, who has 16 homers in the season, a 728 OPS. In what situation did you think when Breslow, another masterclass from Craig, to trade Elmer, a guy that he's a double-A pitcher, the Yankees are very excited about him. He's in double-A. Narvaez is in the majors, and he's producing. I mean, that is a trade that I would pull off a million times over if I knew the defense that Narvaez brought and what he's done to this rotation. It's been unbelievable. I could talk about it for days. But again, I agree, Duran's got to get on track. I think this lineup, I'm being super optimistic, but that's just me. I think this lineup can bat around.
Yeah, I have lived and died with the ups and downs of these teams, with this team the entire season, Chuck. When they were hot, I was as high as you could be on this team. But when they were bad, I was the earth is falling. Trevor Story at the start of the season, I thought was the worst baseball player I had ever laid my two eyes on. He was atrocious, but he's picked it back up. And I think you just make the good point where if you look at the Yankees, it's going to be you need Aaron Judge, you need Stanton, you need these guys to be, the home run hitters they need to be. But what more superstar base. But with the Red Sox, I don't want to sound corny because it was on their social. It really, truly is the power of friendship just propelling this team, Chuck. It is on any given day, anybody can be the hero of this team, which I think is a super exciting baseball team to watch. It's stressful as all hell because it comes down to counting on guys like Masataka Yoshida and Connor Wong and rookie Carlos Narvaez and Willie Abreu, who I think coming back in this lineup at the perfect time. When you say you need pop in the lineup, there's your power hitter. And it's nothing compared to what the Yankees have, but you have some pop in what Willie Abreu can give you. But let's look ahead now, because you mentioned Roman Anthony. I think he's done, Chuck. As much as it would be awesome to see you come back and him come back, and he says he wants to come back. Okay, well, I want to date your sister, buddy, but we can't all get what we want. So I think it's really hopeful if he does come back. I don't think you see him this season. Same with Meyer. But let's look ahead. ALDS, ALCS. I think they take the Yankees down in 3 games in the wild card. They take the Crochet game. As good as Bayo has been against the Yankees, I don't see the Yankees getting swept at home in the wild card. I don't. So it comes down to Giolito, the guy that I brag stupidly called the Magic Man on the phone with one time at work. And one of the most embarrassing moments of my life, but he's going to need to be magical come Thursday night. It's been a day. That's how I work my life now, Chuck.
Saturday, I think, would be the third game. I don't know.
Oh, because it'd be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday against the Yankees, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm like not tapped in on the schedule right now.
I should be because I get it emailed. But let's assume that for now. Thursday game Thursday, October 2nd would be game 3.
Okay.
So yeah, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Shout out the boss for sending the schedules.
Shout out.
Let's look ahead. Let's say they get past the let's say they get past the Yankees. You have them in 2 games. I have them in 3 games. I'd say it goes Crochet, they lose, and then they get the Giolito game when it comes to being magical. Who do you see them matching up with in the ALDS, potential ALCS? Is Anthony back? Do they get the reinforcements in the lineup? And who do you want to avoid at all costs?
Well, obviously DS is set with the Blue Jays. Again, I genuinely believe that they're just a weak team. I mean, Bichette's hurt. Vlad has not been hitting well. They beat us in a game. I think we could pick up a series against the ALDS in the ALDS against the Jays. But again, that's looking ahead, right? I mean, I think for me, obviously we're on a podcast. I think the team right now is just focused on this Yankees series. But you go to Toronto after you beat New York in their stadium, you're feeling up. You're feeling as high as can be. And I genuinely believe the hot streak of the Cleveland Guardians will continue throughout this postseason. They're going to make it to the LCS. I have no faith in the Mariners at all in the DS for them. I don't. I think they're not a postseason team. They're a good team. Cal Riley's been great. J-Rod, the rest of them, it's a good squad. Their rotation is a rotation that I wish any team could have. I mean, it's full of just demons. There's no other way to put it. I mean, Brian Woo's been incredible. Logan Gilbert. I mean, that's a rotation that anybody would want. But I just don't believe they've got enough to make it past this Guardians team, who has been red hot. So I think the Sox, they get a fighting chance. They beat the Yankees. They go to the DS. I think there's a chance they go to the ALCS. And quite frankly, and this is going to stun people, but I'll put it out there. If it's a Guardians Sox ALCS, you can kiss the World Series. You can kiss it. It's going to be in front of you because, I mean, that's a team that you can compete against. The American League is so incredibly weak. I mean, the NL, it's going to be either the Phillies or the Brewers. And it'd be a tough one for us, either team. But the fact that there's aspirations and the ability, because the path is laid out for you, I think the team is looking at that and licking their chops. Because, I mean, that is a set of teams that you can beat. And the fact that you have the opportunity to be in the CS, my outlook on that and what Anthony has said in Boston Globe article, Tim Healy, shout out him, wrote and interviewed Anthony. And Anthony said, I don't set timetables, and the team hasn't set a timetable for him. He said, I'm going to look at the ALDS and say, that's my next one. If I don't make that one, I'll do the CS. For him, I need to see a tweet or something regarding him starting baseball activities within the next week. And that's not going to happen. And I think if it's not within the next week, the next 2 weeks, what if it's lined up with the CS and he comes back game 3, he could be the savior. It'd be one of those situations. But I don't know how that's going to go. I can't play it out in my head. I wish I knew someone down in Fort Myers close enough to me that I could ask. And even the people I do know, they don't have anything. So it's like it's tough. I think a guy like him is missing out of this lineup because you get to move everyone else down a spot, and that just makes everything mayhem. It just makes it incredible.
Yeah, they've been very, I think coy would be the right word to use to describe how they've been talking about the Anthony injury situation. It's almost like they want to keep it in the dark to keep teams worried, which is so interesting to think about that teams would be worried about, was he a 21-year-old rookie? I mean, he is everything that we wanted him to be. The season really came down to at one point in time, let's see what the kids are. And the kids are those guys. Now, Campbell still in Worcester, still have a lot to figure out with Campbell. I think he can be a solid guy in the corners like we've talked about, Chuck in the outfield. But when it comes on to Anthony and Meyer, if Meyer's healthy, he'll be fine. His issue will be his health. And Anthony is just, he was put on this earth to be a baseball hitting machine. For a guy so young to have such good plate discipline and, work the walks the way he does and hit the bombs the way he does. And as long as this Red Sox team wears those city green uniforms, Chuck, they have a chance against anybody. Those uniforms are magical. And ALDS against the Jays when they get there, I'm not afraid of the Jays. Like you said, they just took 2 out of 3 against them in must-win games for both teams. I'm not too worried about them, barring, some injury returns. And then the CS, like you said, if they meet the Guardians, I am petrified of the Guardians, Chuck, because we've seen in the past few years with the Diamondbacks and the Nationals, if you get hot at the right time in baseball, right around the postseason, you can be a deadly team. And I think that's what this Guardians team is. And like you said, in a weak AL, honestly, kind of, a Mickey Mouse AL, if we're going to be honest at this point, Chuck, they are a dangerous team that I want to avoid, and it's not up to you. But if you can, at all costs, pray somebody else beats them because they are the hottest team in baseball right now, and they're going to be a nightmare with just how hot they have been. They've won, 15 of their last 7, something crazy along those lines. 13 of the last 15, 15 of the last 17, something stupid like that to make a historic run of the postseason. But that's the way I'm looking at this playoff. Like you said, Chuck, the path is there. It's carved out. It's not going to be you have to beat world beaters. You got to beat your rival against the Yankees, who have one of the best players in baseball and more pop in the lineup, but it's doable. You've been their daddy all year. You sweep them coming out of you sweep them right before the day you trade Devers, you sweep them to turn your whole season around. You've given them the business at Yankee Stadium. It's not like Yankee Stadium has this allure against this Red Sox team like they have in past years before we were born, when they just couldn't be the Yankees. They've given this team the business all year long, and I have a lot of faith. It's shaping up to be I was going to say a wonderful holiday, but it's going to shape up to be a wonderful October. Playoff baseball is back in the city of Boston, and what a time to be alive for the Boston Red Sox and those fans, and what could be a historic. Yo, I'm recording. Sorry about that, brothers. It's going to be a phenomenal time, Chuck. And is there anything else you want to add before we hop off? Again, I appreciate you because I was so scatterbrained booking this. That's on me. But anything else you want to add, matchup wise against the Yankees, predictions, things like that before we jump out of here?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk just a little bit more about this matchup coming up now, just to begin for game 1. I think Crochet is in a spot where he's quite literally the most dominant pitcher in baseball. That one star kind of threw him off the Cy Young race with Turk Skubal, which kind of stinks, stings a little bit. But I'm sure he'll win one in his tenure here, or maybe 2. I think this matchup for Garrett is going to solidify multiple things for Garrett himself, and it's, can you compete in the postseason? Does that change? Does your attitude, mentality change when you reach the postseason? I don't think it will. He's a guy that has a lot of energy, a lot behind his pitches. He's extremely specific and interpersonal with Carlos and what he's had with him, and I'm really excited to see how he attacks the lineup. And the big thing about Cora is that, and the funny thing is, I heard this from Talkin' Jake. I heard this from the guys with the Yankees. They're scared about the fact that we have their number. We know their identity. We know their game plan. It's just that part of it is scaring Yankees fans, and I think it's also scaring Aaron Boone. It's just we know how to attack these hitters. And a lot of teams they tend to do something different, and then Judge hits a homer. And I'm sure Judge will hit a homer this series. I mean, he hasn't been great in the postseason. He hasn't. I mean, it's just it's the truth. I mean, he's a 203 hitter. He's got a league average OPS in the postseason. He's hit a shit ton of home runs, but other than that, home runs are great. That's a great thing to add to your team. But if you can take him out of plus situations with runners on, and there's 2 outs, I think Garrett's the guy.
He's dominated him all season long.
Exactly. Runner on second, runner on third. There's 2 outs. If there's a 2-2 count, that's what it is against Judge. Crochet's either going to blow him by with a fastball inside, or he's just going to get him on the corners. I mean, they know how to attack these hitters. And I believe same goes for Fried. I mean, he had a kind of a wonky end of the season. He's figured it out. This team does not like facing him. It's the postseason. It's going to be a pitcher's duel. And I think whoever dips into the pen first, I mean, unless we get around to Fried or they get around to Garrett, I mean, I don't know how this game is going to go. I mean, it's really going to be a postseason game that everyone's tuned into. And I think this team, you've seen it all season, regardless as to where they were in the standings, they have played extremely well in national televised games. They love the audience. They love when they're on national television. I think it's going to play a role into it. They're obviously the underdogs. Every single time we see a Sox-Yankees series, they're underdogs, and I think this one's going to be a fun one.
No better place to be than punching up with nothing to lose to these Red Sox. The last thing I want to talk about, because I wanted to circle back on it. What has Nathaniel Lowe been to I mean, he has been a shot in the arm that this team really needed, and a guy that we talk about, 2018 bringing us, Steven Pierce. Yeah. And just being the guy that they bring into the deadline who you think isn't going to matter much, and he goes on to win, World Series MVP. Nathaniel Lowe, and I love Nathaniel Lowe because he reminds me of a little bit more in shape Pablo Sandoval, but just better in every single way. Because the way the uniform just hugs his body just makes me smile when I see him running. And it's not a diss on Lowe because he's a little chunky. I love a good chunky ball player with some pop behind his bat, Chuck. Nathaniel Lowe being in this lineup, being a shot in the arm who was on a team going nowhere real fast, and he comes to a team that's going somewhere real quick, and his whole season is turned around. Again, another guy in the lineup that could be a hero on any given day.
Well, man, I'll tell you, we talked about Yoshida and how I think he's an X factor. I mean, big shout out to Tyler Milliken, Curry College alum, WMLN alum. This conversation that took place about this was, and he's tweeted about it as well. I mean, the last 12 games, you look at Nathaniel Lowe, it's the slash line of 324, 844 OPS, getting on base 400% of the time, 126 WRC plus in the last 12 games. I mean, he's been unbelievable. And to go off of that, if you think 126 has been great from Nathaniel Lowe, to go back on my postseason X factor and Masataka Yoshida, his last 12 games, 383, getting on base around 400, a 967 OPS. He's almost got a 1,000 OPS with an 160 WRC plus. Yoshida's been hot, and I think he's going to continue doing it into the postseason, and we'll show Rafi Devers who the real DH is. Obviously a joke, but I think those 3 guys, Rafaela, 927 OPS last 12 games. Those 3 guys are going to be huge for this entire run. And again, Nathaniel Lowe, a hole at first base. You're playing Romy there. I'm the biggest Tristan Casas truther there is in America, regardless of the injury, regardless of the a really slow start to the season. People were counting out Story just a year ago. I think if this guy Tristan comes back next season and he's in full swing and is able to get back on track, he's going to be a Sox player that everyone loves. I mean, Lowe is filling in a spot that obviously we thought Tristan would be in, a guy that I believe Tristan will be a 30 homer guy in his career at some point. But he's been great. And I think the presence of, Lowe won a World Series with the Rangers. He knows what it's like in the postseason. I mean, you add that to this team, the only guy, like you said, Alex Cora, Ramon Vasquez. And then you look in the pen, Garrett Whitlock. Those are the 3 guys a part of the 2021 run. That's it. That's all you got. You get Lowe in there. He's got playoff experience, especially World Series experience. He's going to be an X factor. And my 3 X factors, I'll lay them out there. Masataka Yoshida, Nathaniel Lowe, and Cedeno Rafaela. Those are the 3 biggest X factors. I'm completely counting on Alex Bregman being Alex Bregman in this postseason. I don't think I even need to say he's going to be an X factor because he's going to be Alex Bregman.
That's a guy we haven't talked about at all this, 45
Right.
minutes or so we've been on here at all.
More Yoshida talk than there has been Alex Bregman talk.
And Bregman has not been spectacular down the stretch. When it's cool that he was brought in to be, and he kind of took over the job of being a mentor to the young kids, but he brought him in here to be one of the guys in this team. And they chose Alex Bregman over Rafael Devers, a homegrown talent who was the last remaining piece of that 2018 World Series team besides Alex Cora. And they chose Alex Bregman over him. And Bregman down the stretch, when you needed him, he was a ghost. He was the avatar. He was just not there. So coming into those playoffs, you need him to be the Alex Bregman where he gets better as the year goes on. And when you need him the most in September, in October, in big at bats, but the guy is, besides, like you said, besides Lowe, really the only guy with, marginal, a lot of playoff experience to be the calm of the storm in this postseason run. And I don't want to cross over sports too much, but very much of the way Drew Holiday was the calm of the storm in that 2024 Celtics championship run. That's what Alex Bregman needs to be when your back's against the wall, you need something, nobody's got it. Bregman has to be the guy that has it.
I mean, listen, last 30 games, he had a 188 average. I mean, he was getting on base 27% of the time with a 278 on base percentage. You look at the last 7, his on base percentage is up to 400. He's batting 270. I mean, he's figured it out. Big spot in that Tigers game. Put himself on second. None other than what a time to be alive to watch Yoshida hit a ball up the middle of the field that went 400 miles per hour off his bat.
Do you have a Yoshida jersey?
I don't, not yet. Again, Yoshida hit that ball 400 miles per hour, definitely not 75 off the bat, up the middle of the field to have Bregman score one of the bigger RBIs of the night to score that run. I mean, I think Bregman now, he's honed it in. The injury for sure slowed him down. You see the way that he runs. I mean, I don't even know how he's playing that well at third. I mean, he's definitely banged up, and everybody else is banged up. We see Story, he made a ton of errors at short. Nothing like him. I mean, mid-season, he was incredible. Beginning of the season, he was making errors. End of the season, he's making errors. They don't want to say they're tired because you're not going to tell the media that. But these guys are tired, but they're fighting through it, right? So I think Bregman is in a spot now where he's honed it in and understood, well, it's postseason time. I did this in Houston, and guess what? Houston's not here, right? Houston's not in the postseason. I'm not in Houston anymore. I'm in Boston. I need to figure this out. I think he will. I mean, he's batting 270. He's slugging about 430. He's figured it out. Obviously, the last 30 were tough, right? If you look at that statistic in itself. But, like, I'm looking at the now. It's 0-0. Everybody's 0-0. And you look at the last 7 games and the way this team has played, I think they're going to carry that momentum into the Bronx. And, again, we got a guy here in the sports department, LJ Hernandez, big Yankees guy. He's afraid. These guys are afraid, and I get it. I would be afraid too. It's not even me being a Sox fan. It's the truth. Like, the Yankees, and I told LJ, I was like, you guys have nothing to lose. Just figure it out. Win the game at home. Is it that hard? I mean, I guess it is. I mean, they're that nervous, So, I think Bregman's going to be a big piece into this postseason push, and he wants to go on a run. It's magical. We're in the dance.
Yeah, nothing better than you never want to be the guy at the dance in the corner on his phone. You want to be in there with the hot chick. You want to be dancing around in the circle. It's that time, Boston. You are in there. You're one of the more attractive picks. You got nothing to lose. You're going after the hottest girl in school. Nothing to lose. You got house money, fool's gold. And according to Chuck, it's all on Masataka Yoshida.
Yeah, it is. And the funny thing is, you're going to be the first person I'm going to text when he hits a homer in this wild card series. Because that short porch is just waiting for him.
That fraudulent ballpark at Yankee Stadium. No wonder why Judge had so many goddamn home runs. You got a short porch on the right field. I can hit that with a metal bat at least.
And again, we are all witness. I mean, I say this all the time. There's a post of the Nike logo and Yoshida hitting a homer, and it says we are all witness because it's true. I mean, the guy he's hot at the right time. We talked about the Guardians being hot. Our DH, our guy who, quite frankly, has a regimen, and sometimes when he gets a hit, he forgets to do the celly because he's so locked in.
So unbelievably locked in. The Wally mask is on. It's at Yankee Stadium. Maybe the which is so messed up that they take his head off and decapitate him and wear it as a celebration.
I think it's like a motorcycle helmet is what it looks like.
Okay, well, they should go out there and bat with it on then. At that point, if it's a helmet, Chuck, it's always great to talk to you, man. You got all the stats. It's awesome. I can just throw stuff at the wall and just give me the stats to back it up. It's phenomenal podcasting. I appreciate it. 38 and counting is going to be doing a live live show for the postseason game, correct? So make sure
Tuesday
you.
live. We're on playback. We're on YouTube. Anywhere you watch live streams, we're on there.
Yep. So make sure you go hit up 38 and count and watch that. Jack is gonna have some of the worst. If you thought the Yoshida take was bad, Jack's gonna have something 5 times worse.
Listen, I mean, we're watching the game. Dave Halal, Jack's father, will be there. He'll be
The GOAT.
The GOAT, the greatest of all time. And again, we'll have some great guests on. Obviously, Section 10 doing their thing at the House of Blues. There may be somebody in that regard joining us from there, but I think it's going to be a really sick time on Tuesday. And again, big spot for my guy Masa and for the rest of this lineup to go wreak some havoc on Max Fried.
Go do damage. You can play him with house money. Season is oh my god, that's just not the word I wanted to say. Season is a success, not a success. Chuck, thank you so much. Go check him out. Chuck Luarasi on socials, things like that. 38 and counting. He is the GOAT, up and comer. Hopefully next time I talk to you, they'll launch in the duck boats, man. And if not, we'll get into why they didn't make the duck boat tour. Is Alex Bregman going to be back? Jaron Duran going to be back? What's Roman Anthony's first full year looks like? We'll get into all of that. Depending on how this postseason run goes.
Hey, listen, man, if they're out of here, we get another emergency pod going, ALDS. I'll do one every round. And again, if we're back, I know why. My guy Masa got a big hit. I know that for a fact.
All right. Make sure you subscribe. Duckboat Dispatch on YouTube. If you're looking for the full episode this week, don't worry. Sarah, Josh, and I will be back. We're going to break down the Patriots' dominating win over the Carolina Panthers. We'll get you Sarah's fantasy football update. That's my mom's favorite host, so we have to get to that. I've accepted the fact that my mom doesn't love me as much. It's whatever. Go Sox. Spank the Yanks, baby.